Could this be the end of Israel?
It could be the end of political Zionism. And I would think that would be a good thing if there is a safety net. I am not advocating for the termination of the Israeli state. I am not advocating for the violent expression of from the river to the sea. A lot of people interpret that as the expulsion of the Israeli people. But if you believe in the one-state solution, from the river to the sea means that you're going to create a single state where Jews, Muslims, Christians live together as equals. That's why it's pretty difficult for the United States to articulate a single state solution. We continue to buy into a two-state solution, but a two-state solution where you have a separate Jewish state, a separate Arab state, Muslim and Christian, living side by side. That's always been the political Zionist plan, because they can manipulate that notion, as they have successfully done over the years. The Abraham Accord is the most modern manifestation of this manipulation to create conditions, to dictate conditions of Palestinian statehood that are so unrealistic that there will never be a Palestinian state. So this is why a lot of people today are saying, we don't want a two-state solution. We're looking for a one-state solution. A one-state solution, however, cannot exist without the strategic defeat, the total defeat of political Zionism. That is the underlying philosophy that created the Israeli state to begin with. A separate Jewish homeland must be terminated, and Israel must be reimagined as a place in the Middle East where people of all faiths can live together, Jewish, Christian, Muslim. This is more difficult to do. One of the reasons why it's difficult to do is we're never allowed to think it. Because the moment you talk about this, the moment you articulate anything that is seen as being anti-Zionist Israel, you're called anti-Semitic. I mean, we see right now American politicians trying to say that if you criticize Zionism, if you speak out against Zionism, you're anti-Semitic. No, not at all. Not at all. You're just anti-fascist Israel. I mean, that's the reality. But Congress has been bought and paid for by the pro-Israeli American, the pro-Israeli lobby here in America. Don't say, Scott, you're anti-Semitic. How dare you repeat? That's blood libel. That's another term they always throw out there. That's blood libel. No, it's not. Ariel Sharon has openly bragged about buying the U.S. Congress. He was a prime minister of Israel. Benjamin Netanyahu likewise openly brags about buying the U.S. Congress. Heck, the American Israeli Public Affairs Committee, this Jewish lobby, that pro-Israeli lobby in Washington, D.C., brags about how they control Congress. Think of it, ladies and gentlemen, at a time when Democrats and Republicans are fighting over every single issue here in the United States. Heck, today's election day, we get to see it played out live and in color. Why do, when AIPAC opens up its annual forum, why do they all flock there like subservient slaves and sit there and just effuse praise for Israel? Democrats and Republicans alike. Why? Because guess who writes the campaign checks? Guess who keeps these guys who come there from being primary? That's the kiss of death in the political business, especially for a 2-year representative. You come in, you have 2 years. If you have to prepare for a primary about a year into your office, it means you're not doing a good job. You're not doing your real job. You're fighting. You're spending all your money preparing to be primary. You're not even going up against your principal opponent. You're going to lose the election. And the pro-Israeli lobby plays on this by telling them, not only will we not fund you, but we will fund your opponent in a primary. Congress is bought and paid for. The United States is controlled by Israel. There is no real criticism here in Israel of Israel today in the United States. You're not allowed to be critical. And that's the worst thing you can do to a friend. I used to be 2 feet in the Israeli camp. I mean, I think I may have told you that, but I've said that before. I'm not one of these guys that have spent my whole life, with a free Palestine flag. I didn't wear the keffiyeh around my neck, in symbolic, brotherhood with the PLO. Not my style. My style was, I was in Israel from 1994 to 1998, working with Israeli intelligence in a very close fashion to resolve the issue of weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. My primary function was disarmament, but the secondary function was to keep those missiles that Iraq had used during the Gulf War, which I fought in, by the way, to attack Israel. I was involved in the campaign to stop them from attacking Israel, to prevent it from happening again. And I worked at the highest levels with the Israeli intelligence service to resolve this issue. I fell in love with Israel. This is why what's happening right now just breaks my heart, because I loved Israel. might have been naive about Israel. I mean, I have to be honest, my host was very good about opening me up to the complexities of the situation. He lived in a village. As you go from Tel Aviv up towards Jerusalem, you come up to what they call the Green Line. That's the 1967 boundary of borders. And he lived in a village, and he, on the Israeli side, and he pointed over. He said, "See that hill over there?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "That's on the other side of the Green Line. See that village over there with the mosque?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "That's Palestinian village." He said, "Understand that this is where we were in a barbecue, by the way, him and his neighbors were having a barbecue." He said, "This is where I raised my family. This is where you're a military guy. What does the high ground mean?" I said, "Well, mortars, snipers, observed fire." He goes, "Yeah. So if we go to war against them, we're going to die. My family's going to die. They're going to pay the price. I want peace. We want peace." This was during Yitzhak Rabin's prime minister, when he was prime minister. Yitzhak Rabin's the prime minister that's got the Oslo Accords, Oslo I, Oslo II. He was assassinated by a right-wing Jewish fanatic who was a supporter of Benjamin Netanyahu, assassinated because he was pursuing peace. But that's the Israel I fell in love with. I fell in love with the Israel that when a bomb went off 100 yards from my hotel and there were bodies in the streets,